Hello friends, and welcome back to my China life. My name is Kat, for those of you who don't know me, and I have been out of pocket for a little while, a couple months now. Sorry, there's a lot of construction going on outside of our apartment. You might be able to hear that in the background, but we have been traveling. We were traveling for pretty much the entire month of February, and we got terribly sick while we were gone, and so we are recuperating, recovering from some really bad stomach viruses, some bacterial infection, maybe parasite. It was just bad. It was really bad. But we're back, we're healthy, so hopefully I will resume filming about once a week, putting in a video up of just our life here in China. But today I wanted to make a video for those of you who are expats, or you live outside of your passport country, like we do, about some of my biggest game changers for living a life abroad in China. So this will be specifically China things, but if you live somewhere else, probably maybe they could apply in some way. You could find the equivalent wherever you live. But so I'm gonna jump right in. First game changer, probably super obvious, but needs to be said. Learn the language wherever you move. And I have shame on me because we have been here in China for nearly 3 years, and my Chinese is pretty poor. I would say it's probably equivalent to maybe like a 2-year-old is what my Chinese level is at. I made excuses for a long time of why I didn't have time, of why I just didn't put in the effort, but really it's just all on me. I just made excuses. I would suggest hiring a tutor, a personal tutor, somebody who speaks the language, who you would meet with consistently, regularly. I think I have friends who have done that and they've had really good success in their Chinese. Obviously, if you can do that before you have children, that's a lot easier. I think each time you add a child to the mix, it just makes it more and more difficult, and you have to make it more of a priority. So that's the excuse I guess I've been using, is that with my kids, it's just been, I haven't made the time for it. But that's honestly just an excuse, and I wish that my Chinese was better. And life is easier in your country when you can speak the language. Obviously, duh, that's a no-brainer, right? Well, that's number one. Number two, game changer to living abroad is figuring out and setting up the easiest way to pay in that country. So for example, we live in China. A really big thing here, if you're Chinese, you know, is Alipay, right? Or WeChat Pay. We just got, after 2.5 years of living here, we just got Alipay on our phones. And let me tell you, it has been a game changer. So up until now, I've been using only cash everywhere we go, which is fine and works fine. But I see people all the time pulling out their phones everywhere they're at to pay. And I'm like, why can I not get this? So we finally figured out what was going on. You know, they had Alipay. We had some friends of ours help us set up an Alipay account. And it's one of those things where you need help. You know, we had to go to the bank, we already had a bank account, but we had to have some translation help. It wasn't like the easiest thing to do, but once we got it set up, the accounts all set up, it's been so convenient to have Alipay on our phones everywhere we go now. I don't need my wallet, I don't need anything else. Literally everywhere you go in China, whether it's a fruit stand, a supermarket, a taxi driver, you can use Alipay. So whatever the equivalent of that is in your country, get it early and use it often, because it's just so convenient to not have to try to get to a bank, get to an ATM to get some cash out, you know. Yeah, so I highly recommend that. Second thing is figuring out whatever travel service you have in your country. Same thing with Alipay for us. So in China, there was Uber really briefly, but eventually it was like either bought out, or I'm not sure exactly what happened. But now there's a company called Didi Dache. So it's like it's like the equivalent of Uber here. But for the longest time here in China, it was only in Chinese. Well, I can't read Chinese. My Chinese is not the greatest speaking. You know, if I'm in a taxi, it's like I can generally get where I need to go. But the fact that Didi now is in the American App Store, and they have it in English for the foreigners who live in China, and it has been amazing. Such a game changer. So easy to get in there, navigate where you're going, type it in, a car picks me right up. let me tell you, we have stood in the pouring rain for over half an hour before trying to catch a taxi when we were going somewhere like really far away, or that we didn't know how to get there by subway or didn't have time to look it up before we went. And so the fact that now we can literally just press this app and it pops up where we need to go, hop in the car, they take us. It has been a game changer for me personally. So Alipay, Didi, literal game changers in our everyday life. Third biggest game changer for me living abroad is figuring out how to use the online like purchasing services. So here in China, the biggest one by far would be Taobao. So if you're Chinese, you know about Taobao. You can buy literally anything you can think of, you can find on Taobao. And you can get it delivered to your house. It's amazing. Downfall, if you don't speak Chinese, can't read Chinese, can't figure out how to navigate all of that, it's hard to use. So for the longest time, for a couple of years, I had a hard time getting things figured out on Taobao. I could always have friends help me, and people were always so gracious to help me order things, whether it's groceries or maybe my kid needs a new pair of shoes or whatever it is. People are always so gracious to want to help, but nobody really wants to rely on someone all the time, 24/7 for everything you need, right? Well, found out an amazing company in China called Baopals. So I'll link all of that. I'll link all of this below. Baopals is Taobao for foreigners. So it is run by foreigners who saw a market, saw a need for other English speakers all throughout China to be able to order from Taobao, but everything's in English. And so they have just made the website incredibly handy, easy, convenient for foreigners like myself. So I order from Baopals all the time. Anything that I would want to order from Taobao, I can order on Baopals. I might not even be saying that properly. I don't know. I call it Baopals. I guess you might pronounce it a different way. But if you've never heard of Baopals and you live in China and you don't know how to use Taobao, it will change your life. Check it out. Okay, so now one of the 4 things that has been a game changer for me in living abroad is figuring out how to properly pack for the year ahead. Our first year coming in, you don't really know what to bring besides clothes, right? It's like, well, of course, I'm gonna need to bring my clothing, maybe some toiletries, things like that. The longer we have been here, the easier it is for us to find things that we need that come from the States. But a lot of times you're gonna have to pay a higher price. So there are quite a few things that I do bring from America before we come. But when it comes to packing, here's my biggest tip. Before you get on the airplane, 2 days before you leave your country of service, you need to have all of your bags 98% packed, almost completely done. Maybe just some toiletries, a couple of last minute items, but for the most part, you need to be overwhelmingly done packing within 2 days before you leave. The first time we left to come to China, I did not do this. I did not follow this. It was the night before we were leaving, and I legitimately had like a panic attack because I was trying to think through and get everything organized and packed and prepared and lists and all the things I was thinking, what if I don't have this, yada yada yada. Like I said, you really can get so much while living abroad, of course, but it was just, now in hindsight, I know you need to get done with your packing early. You need to be very organized in the lists that you make. What I do throughout the year, whenever I need something, I don't have it that I want to bring from America, I have a running list of just like America needs that either I can't find in China or are too expensive to purchase here, custom fee, whatever, to get. And so I have this running list, and during the packing time in the summer, it helps tremendously to have known like what I needed in November, or what was something I needed in March, or things like that. So to have that list running throughout the year, I also share this list with friends and family who send us care packages. So people are super gracious, send us, we receive probably about, I don't know, maybe 5 or so care packages a year, which they're not cheap. It's pretty expensive to ship here to China. But in that, people always ask, well, what do you need? So it's just amazingly helpful if you have that running list of things that I need. Taco seasoning and spaghetti seasoning and, tons. I mean, there's so many different things I could list off, but I won't get into my list of things that I bring right now. Just my tip is to get organized, figure out a system that works for you specifically. And then my last game changer to living abroad is to have consistent help in your house for one, a date night if you're married, and two, whatever your least favorite chore is, or the chore that you need the most help with, to find someone who can help you with that, to hire someone if needed be. So we have hired, we have an IE, and IE means auntie. She is someone who comes to our house once a week for 4 hours, and half of that time she spends babysitting for us. And Brett and I are able to leave the house to get out on our own, just the two of us, for a couple of hours. We typically pretty much always go right across the street from our house is a KFC, Kentucky, and we go and we sit and we play cards and drink coffee for an hour and a half or so, and that is our date. But it is so helpful for us to get out of our house, know there's someone that we trust who's watching our children. It gives us, it's just, if you're married, you just know, that you need that time with one another to connect and to be able to communicate and just have some time out. And so it has been a game changer for us to have our IE. The other 2 hours that she's with us for the week, she typically cleans. And to me, that is such a service. I hate cleaning bathrooms. It's been it just never has been my thing. And so she does that for us. And so it's 4 hours a week. She is not expensive. It's really inexpensive. She charges less than a little around $4 US dollars an hour is what we pay her. That's her going rate for anybody. And so it's very affordable for us, and it serves our family and it serves me in immense ways. So these are my tips, my big life changers to living abroad. Depending on where you live, you can fit them to meet your needs. So like I was saying, if you live abroad, figuring out these specific things that are going to serve you and help living abroad more manageable, easier in your country of context. If that's China, figure out Didi, figure out Alipay, Baopals, these things that I mentioned. But I would love to know, if you are someone who lives abroad, what are some other tips that you have that have been game changers for you guys? Something that would help me or anybody else who's watching this video. Share below in the comments all of your game changers for living abroad. Thanks for watching, friends, and we will see you again next time. 下次见.